Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome and thank you for attending today's inauguration ceremony for the 47th Governor of the great state of Kansas. I'm Dr. Paul Camerata, and I am honored today to be your Master of Ceremonies for the event. Please welcome now the statewide officers. Commissioner of Insurance, Ken Selzer. State Treasurer Jake Letourneau. Attorney General Derek Schmidt and Secretary of State Chris are unable to join us today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 46th Governor of the state of Kansas, Sam Brownback. Welcome the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Kansas, Jeff Colyer, wife Ruth, and daughters Dominique and Serena, escorted by the Adjutant General of Kansas, Major General Lee Taffanelli, and the Superintendent of the Kansas Highway Patrol, Colonel Mark Bruce. We are honored to have some very special guests in our VIP seating area. Senate President Susan Wagle. Minority Leader Anthony Hensley. Majority Leader Jim Denny. President Jeff Longmire. Speaker Ron Reichman. Minority Leader Jim Ward. Majority Leader Don Hinneman. Tim Scott Schwab. There are other dignitaries and very special guests who have joined us for this special occasion today. Please stand now for the presentation of the colors and remain standing as our national anthem is performed by the 35th Infantry Division Band under the direction of Chief Warrant Officer 3, Jim Walker. You may be seated. Please help me now in welcoming Father Mike Scully for our invocation.
Bow our heads in prayer, please. God of our universe, we thank you for your presence in our world. We thank you for the good things, especially that we have here in America and in our wonderful state of Kansas. We thank you for the exemplary lives of those who have graced these halls. We thank you for Governor Brownback and his contributions to our state and to the legislature that worked with him. We now ask your blessing upon a new administration, on Lieutenant Governor Jeff Colyer as he begins his time as governor. We ask you to be with him and guide him and his legislature to face the difficult times that are present in our world and in our state. We especially ask for your gift of wisdom to Governor Colyer and all of those who are responsible for the decisions of government. We ask that your spiritual guidance will direct those decisions to make them true decisions based on love as well as justice. We believe with all of our hearts that you are with us as we strive to bring about good for everyone in our state. We beg you to continue to show us your love. You are God, and we praise you forever. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father. The Constitution of Kansas provides that when the office of governor is vacant, the lieutenant governor shall become governor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lieutenant Governor Jeff Colyer, Ruth Colyer, and daughters Dominique and Serena. The oath of office today is Chief Justice Lawton Nuss.
Do you, Jeffrey William Colyer, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of office of Governor of the State of Kansas, so help me God?
I do, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is my distinct pleasure to present to you now the 47th Governor of the great state of Kansas, Governor Jeff Colyer.
And those out there, you can sit squat style as well. Madam President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chief Justice, legislative colleagues, my love Ruth, and all of my fellow Kansans and friends, if ever there was a state that blesses our strong daughters and humble sons, if ever there was a state that deserves our service, if ever there was a state whose people, ideals, and principles were the heart and soul of America, it is the great state of Kansas. And today is a new day in Kansas. As a humble Kansan, I know how to listen, I love to serve, and I'm ready to lead. First, we should pay respect to those protecting the great state of Kansas. Our National Guard, our Highway Patrol, policemen, and first responders protect us around the world every day. Would all responders, veterans, and men and women of our armed forces, would you please stand so that we may thank you? This new day in Kansas also brings a new First Lady. It's my honor to introduce my bride to you now. Aww. Please welcome the love of my life, Ruth Colyer. When I first met Ruth in church one Sunday morning, little did I know that she would be God's greatest gift to me, and that our lives would take very many dramatic turns. Ruth is the strongest, most beautiful person I have ever met. I love you, babes. Ruth will make us proud. And as we all know, every man who stands up in public, there's a great woman standing behind him rolling her eyes. And in my case, I have 4 great women rolling their eyes. Thank you to my family. And with us today are 2 of my daughters, Serena and Domino, and I am so proud of them. My mother-in-law, Lorraine Gutierrez, and my mom, 90 years young, my beautiful mother, Lorraine, is with us as well. And join us. Join us via Facebook Live are many of my daughter Melindy in Europe and families and friends in Kansas on at least 4 continents. And in the best seats in the house, looking down, even better than yours up there, but looking down from heaven is my brother Jim and my father and my father-in-law, and I hope they're smiling today. Amen. So. And now from all of us, to Mary and Sam, Ambassador Sam Brownback. All Kansans wish you Godspeed as you serve America in your new post, protecting people of faith around the world. Now, today, I want to talk about something that I think is so important. It is what makes Kansas special. The secret of Kansas is our character, and it started in our history. And in the midst of the most trying times of a brewing civil war, Kansans first chose a doctor, Charles Robinson, as their first governor. Governor Dr. Robinson served a great personal cost. Bleeding Kansas cut him to the bone. And like many who underestimate Kansas, his political enemies even tried to impeach him. But he was the stronger man. Governor Robinson listened to the heart of America, and he served at great cost. And he led Kansas to become the 34th star in our nation's flag. Now there is much to learn from Governor Robinson's life. The loudest voices in the room don't always have the best ideas. Kansans are often underestimated, but we all know that if we listen and serve with humility and strength, we will see our finest days. The greatest American of the last century, the man who won World War II, who founded NASA, desegregated our schools, created the interstate highway system, was a strong, quiet Kansan. He listened, and he realized the fearsome sacrifices that we had to make for liberty. His service was humble, yet tenacious in a time more sinister than any other. Many underestimated Dwight David Eisenhower. Ike first listened, and then he served his country as a soldier with great distinction. And then as president, he led our country to new heights. Eisenhower taught us that you have to listen before you serve. And you have to serve selflessly. You have to serve selflessly before you can lead effectively. Please join me in honoring members of President Eisenhower's family here today. One of the first bills I get to sign will be to place the Eisenhower statue on these Capitol grounds. Now, great service is the true character of Kansas. 100 years ago, thousands of Kansas doughboys like Arden McKee of Sterling, Kansas, listened. Listen to what was happening in the war to end all wars. And their service changed the course of history. Arden served, sinking to his knees in the blood and mud of the trenches, and then he made the charge over the top. And from the trenches, Arden often wrote to his mother about missing her cooking. He told her of his service and how he became the leader of his unit when all the officers were killed. And then he led. Just days before the end of the war, Arden crossed the battle lines to find food for his starving soldiers. They then pushed the enemy back 6 miles when a shell struck, killing him. At the top of his letters home, teenager Arden, yes, teenager Arden, had inscribed, "Life's battles do not always go to the stronger or swifter man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the one who thinks he can." That is the essence of the Kansas character. My great-grandmother never quite got over the loss of her son. And like my great-uncle Arden McKee, I know Kansas can win because we believe we can. Growing up in Hayes and working for Ronald Reagan, I learned the value of strong principles. And today, I'll make some commitments to you. First, I believe every life is sacred. Amen. I commit to serving and treating every Kansan. I commit to serving and treating every Kansan with the dignity and respect you deserve. As a doctor, I will always level with you. I demand transparency, and we embrace accountability. I pledge to do the right thing, even when nobody is looking. And we will set a tone and insist on an environment of openness, honesty, and respect, and without harassment, especially in this building. When others blame and complain, I'll be busy working for you, trying to find solutions. I will not be responsible for shutting down Kansas government or our schools. This is not Washington. We will not compromise long-term outcomes for short-term political gains. And I will always, always choose the most optimistic path for Kansas. As you know, I've committed my life to service of others as a doctor. And like many Kansans, I've spent much of my life working 2 jobs. As your governor, for a few hours a week, I plan to continue to see many of whom are with us today. You see, for me, when I'm in the operating room or in the emergency room, I interact with families in the most intimate and often the scariest moments of their lives. They share their fears and they share their dreams in a way that you would never experience talking to someone in the street or in these cavernous hallways. These conversations, these interactions They inform my decisions, and they will make me a better governor. But I gotta warn you, my schedule's gonna look a lot more like a surgeon's than a politician's. So don't be surprised by an 80 or 100-hour work week. Staff, get used to it. Today at morning mass in Hayes, I was reminded of the play A Man for All Seasons, where my hero, Thomas More, described our purpose on earth. He said, "Man he made to serve him wittily in the tangle of his mind, that we seek not praise but utility." You see, I believe God put us here to serve others. I think we all agree on that. And after Mass, I went and visited West Side Alternative School. This public school is a unique partnership with High Plains Mental Health Center, and it ensures that special needs kids have the same opportunities for success as every other kid. Innovative programs like these are possible because of the service and the dedication of people like Walt Hill. Walt began as an intern in 1978 at High Plains Mental Health and worked his way up to director. Innovation, service, and a can-do Kansas attitude led Walt to do amazing things for the people of Kansas. Walt, will you please stand so that we can recognize your service? A few years ago, Ruth and I witnessed one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century, and this experience changed my perspective forever. During the Rwandan genocide, in a country about half the size of Kansas, about 1 million people were killed in the space of just a few months. Ruth and I quit our jobs to volunteer with International Medical Corps, and when we arrived, every house, every building had been looted. The church down the road had hundreds massacred inside the sacristy. And at night, we would chain all the doors and all the windows. And we would lean Coke bottles against the interior doors so we would have a warning of when they broke in. When you listened in the dark of night, you could hear the fear in the silence. There was no electricity, no police, no army, no schools, no churches. The only organized thing was the killing. And Ruth and I were in a place called Kabungo, where hundreds of people were huddled in our ransacked hospital. And we listened to people. There was no hope. What do you do in the face of genocide? What do you do in the face of such a tragedy? Do you get out the operating room table? Do you start performing surgery? No. What do? You paint the walls. You paint the walls. I found a mop and a brush and some paint, and we started to clean and then to paint. And soon others in the hospital followed my lead. They picked up mops, they picked up paintbrushes. They were beginning to take their lives back again. And before long, the screams and gunshots that night started to sound farther and farther away. As they began serving one another, they began establishing purpose, order, and most importantly, hope in their own lives. Ruth and I listened, we served, and we led. Now, I've seen firsthand the worst evil in the world in places like Rwanda, Iraq, and Libya. And I have also seen the best in our fellow man. And as I travel across this great state, I can assure you that the best people in the whole world are right here in Kansas, the heart of America. So today is a new day in Kansas. All of us know that tomorrow and the next tomorrow can be even better for our fellow Kansans because of our belief in service. Over the last few years, I've been traveling the state, listening to high schoolers and to seniors, listening to everyone, and what high schoolers told me, how they would go to a nursing home to sing songs with seniors. Others cleaned their neighbor's yard after a storm. Some coached Little League. And then there were also the medicine residents who were moving to Southwest Kansas because they believed in that spirit of service. I believe we are all here in this beautiful rotunda because we know Arden McKee was right. Kansas can win when we believe we can. Now, there are some who say Kansas is in an unwinnable situation, that everything is broken. Yes, it is challenging. It has always been challenging in Kansas. But the great secret of the Kansas soul is that we believe in service, and we believe in each other. It can be done. It's time for a new tone that reflects the best of our state. Our young people aren't slackers. They want to serve in their own way. Kansas look forwards, not backwards. We paint the walls. You've heard a lot today about service. And just as Ruth and I left our lives to volunteer for the people of Rwanda, just as Walt Hill serves those in western Kansas with mental illness, just as Arden McKee left his family to fight for our country, just as President Eisenhower dedicated his life to the service of others, today I challenge you to embrace the Kansas spirit of service. I challenge you to give yourself to your fellow man. I challenge you to put your long-term interests ahead of short-term gain. I challenge all of us to come together, to work together, to show that Kansas is the true heart of America. Thank you. May God bless you. And may God bless the great state of Kansas.
The Adjutant General of Kansas, and Colonel Mark Bruce, Superintendent of the Kansas Highway Patrol, to join Governor Colyer for the Assumption of Command ceremony. By accepting the oath of office, the people of Kansas confer on their governor significant duties and responsibilities. In addition to being our state's chief executive officer, the governor also serves as Commander-in-Chief of the Kansas National Guard and the Kansas Highway Patrol. Today's Assumption of Command ceremony provides a formal setting for the governor to officially take command of these organizations. The ceremony is composed of several traditional elements. Perhaps the most notable and audible of these is the 19-gun salute. The traditional salute afforded the governor of a state. The salute battery is composed of 4 75mm towed howitzers fired by members of the 130th Field Artillery Brigade of the Kansas Army National Guard. Blank rounds are used for this ceremony. A state governor is entitled to 4 ruffles and flourishes, which will be played by the 35th Infantry Division Band, the official band of the Kansas Army National Guard. The governor, accompanied by the Adjutant General and the Superintendent of the Kansas Highway Patrol, will then review an honor guard representing the Kansas Army National Guard, the Kansas Air National Guard, and the Kansas Highway Patrol. Each element reviewed is comprised of 4 enlisted personnel or troopers. The commander of troops for today's ceremony is Colonel Paul Schneider. Although today's ceremony is designed as an opportunity for our National Guard and Highway Patrol to salute their Commander-in-Chief, it also affords all of us the opportunity to salute the sons and daughters of Kansas that serve in uniform. As international events unfold and transform our view of the world and our place in it, we are especially grateful for their service and dedication. From combat duty to public safety, emergency assistance to security and logistical support for events such as this one, the men and women of the Kansas Army National Guard, the Kansas Air National Guard, the Kansas Highway Patrol, and our other public safety officials have earned our respect and our gratitude. Thank you all. Colonel Schneider, we await your command.
Present. Move. Order! Move! Sir, the troops are ready for inspection. Sir, this concludes the inspection of troops. Right? Please. Forward. March.
May I now present Leanna Onan, Tribal Chairwoman of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, who will also introduce representatives from the Indian tribes of Kansas as they present a ceremonial gift to Governor Colyer.
Good afternoon, Governor Colyer and everyone here. On behalf of the 4 tribes in Kansas, my name is Leanna Onan, and I'm the Prairie Band Potawatomi Chairwoman. With me today, we have Tiana Carnes, who is the Chairwoman of the Sac and Fox Nation of Missouri, Nebraska, and Kansas. We have Lester Randall, who is the Chairman of the Kickapoo Tribe in Kansas. and the chairman, Timothy Rod, from the Iowa tribe, was unable to join us today. We want to just say how much we appreciate the work that we always do with the state of Kansas, with the legislature, with Governor Brownback, and we look so forward to working with Governor Colyer as we move forward. So we thank you so much for inviting us today. We thank you for the work that we do together, and we look so forward to working more with you. Congratulations, Governor. Tribes in Kansas, Chairman Randall is going to present Governor Colyer with a blanket, as is our tradition and in our traditional way. There you go.
And now, as a tribute to our rich heritage, we ask everyone to please stand and join the Governor's Own in the singing of our state song, Home on the Range.
Let us pray. When Solomon took his place as king, God said to him, "Request what I should give you." Solomon answered, "May you grant your servant an understanding heart." Let us pray, God grant our new governor, Dr. Jeff Colyer, an understanding heart, one that beats with compassion and wisdom. In the Jewish calendar, today is a day of new beginnings. Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of the month of Shvat, known as the Rosh Hashanah, inaugural beginning of the fruit trees. This means that trees planted from this date and henceforth will be part of the new count of their fruit-bearing years. In Israel today, it is popular to plant trees on this date, a sign of rebirth and optimism for the future. The story is told in the Talmud of Honi the circle maker. a famous legendary figure who one day was walking down the road and he saw a man planting a carob tree. He asked him, "How long will it take this tree to bear fruit?" The man replied, 70 years. He asked, "Are you quite sure you will live another 70 years to eat its fruit?" The man replied, "I myself found fully grown carob trees in the world. As my forebears planted for me, so am I planting for my children." May our new governor be blessed with the wisdom that comes from dedication to family, faith, and community, with new beginnings, sweet like the fruit of the tree, and the recognition that all that we do is not only to benefit those here today, but for our children and grandchildren and generations of Kansans to come. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the retiring of the colors and for the departure of the official party.
Yeah.
Retire the colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our inauguration ceremony. Governor Colyer extends an invitation for you to visit with him at a reception in the governor's ceremonial office, the second floor of the State House. Thank you once again for joining us today on this very special occasion. May God bless you, and may God bless the great state of Kansas.